Giants minicamp is in the books, which means we're going to break it down here on today's video. I'm going to give you my biggest winners and losers following the two-day camp for the New York Giants. Look, nobody is actually a loser, but there were some players that did not live up to the hype, and we got to talk about it. But before we do, we got to catch up to Seahawks Today in subscribers, another channel here at Chat Sports, hosted by my guy Tyler Jones. He's been talking a lot of smack about Big Blue, saying there's no way that you guys can catch us in subscribers. So if you love the Giants and you want free, informative, entertaining, passion-driven content 24/7, 365, hit that subscribe button right now. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. It was just a two-day session for the New York Giants, and the MVP of minicamp for me was Wan'Dale Robinson, the third-year receiver out of Kentucky, the former second-round pick. And I think now is the time that Robinson is going to show everybody why Joe Schoen selected him so early in the NFL draft. On day one, he had the highlight play of the day where he beat Cordell Flott on a slant route that he took to the house, a la OBJ, against the Baltimore Ravens. And Robinson also had 5 catches on day one. Something I think that is important to remember when it does come to Wan'Dale is this is his second year after tearing his ACL in his rookie season, and you always see players get back closer to 100% as they are 24 months removed from that injury. Wan'Dale said this about what it feels like to be back 100% healthy and things going the way that he feels. He says, quote, "I would say it's completely night and day compared to where he was this year, compared to where he was last year. Last year around this time, I wasn't running routes, barely sprinting. To come out here now and be able to go for a full practice and not worry about my knee at all, it's like I said, night and day. I would say in the offseason, I hit some GPS numbers that I hadn't hit ever. So it was pretty nice to see that. Hopefully being able to hit those numbers fully in pads and just show that explosiveness out there on the field." And we saw the explosiveness from Robinson when he did beat Flott on that slant route and he took it the distance. And it's just time for him to get it done. And I expect him to be a major contributor for this offense because he was good his rookie season. He had that 100-yard game in the same game he tore his ACL, and we saw bits and pieces of the impact that he can have this past year. Rookie season, 23 catches, only in 6 games, 227 yards, had that 1 touchdown, and then he upped that. He played 15 games, had 60 grabs, 525 yards, 8.8 yards per catch, just 1 singular touchdown again. But he's going to operate out of the slot for this football team, and he's going to become a reliable target for Daniel Jones or whoever is going to be the quarterback for the New York Giants. He's going to be that safety valve, that underneath threat that can get vertical and eat up yards after the catch. I'm excited to see what he does, and I'm ready to see him be a yards after the catch demon, something that he was really, really good at in college. And I think he's going to be able to do it this year as he is more comfortable coming off that torn ACL. Let's stay with receivers, though, because I thought Jalin Hyatt overall had a really good spring. He showed out in OTAs, and he also had a couple of highlight grabs in plays at minicamp. And overall, he just looks a lot stronger, and he looks a lot more confident. We talked about in our OTA winners and losers video, Giants wide receiver coach Mike Groh talk about just the growth and the strength and really just the maturation that Hyatt has gone through going from year 1 to year 2. But it's not just the coaching staff that has noticed it. Quarterback Daniel Jones has also seen it as well, saying, "I think he's made a ton of improvement this offseason and was really dialed in on some of the smaller details of route running, understanding how defenders are trying to play him and how to gain leverage and gain separation. He's worked tremendously hard this offseason, and I think it's shown up on the field this spring. It's been really fun working with him. He's an extremely talented guy, obviously, and he's only getting better. I'm expecting a major jump in production and really usage for Hyatt this year. Had just 23 grabs for 373 yards his rookie season, but we saw in week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals, he could take the top off the defense. And we saw some catches against the Buffalo Bills and that deep over route against the New England Patriots. And we saw against the Las Vegas Raiders that Hyatt got behind the defense multiple times, just wasn't able to connect with Daniel Jones. So I'm expecting a bigger, stronger, and faster Jalin Hyatt with more experience and more savviness sprinkled into his route tree to be someone that's going to be an impactful player for this Big Blue offense. And overall, when you take a zoomed out look of this wide receiver room, they should be much better than what we've seen the last couple of years. I'm expecting Nabers to be an day one contributor and probably the best wide receiver the Giants have had since Odell Beckham Jr. Hyatt's going to take a step this year, and Wan'Dale, I believe, could leave this year with people across the league talking about him being one of the best slot receivers in this league. And you can already see these guys are having a lot of fun, working on some touchdown celebrations. Going to be a lot of fun to see that young trio do some work this season. Let's stay with another pass catcher for minicamp winners, and that's rookie tight end Theo Johnson, the mid-round pick out of Penn State. One, he's a rookie because he's a winner, because Darren Waller has retired, which means that his name is going to be called upon to be much more of a factor in this offense. He also had one of the very few touchdowns on day one. He kind of just ran a vertical route up the left side, and Tommy DeVito found him in the end zone. Johnson caught it with a little bit of a toe tap, showing that ability to stretch the field vertically and being someone that could be a reliable pass-catching target. And Brian Daboll has taken note of Theo Johnson. He wanted to make it clear. We didn't just draft Johnson because Waller was retiring. We drafted him because he's a good player, saying, we just drafted Theo because we thought he was a good player. He has good measurables. Obviously, you know what his testing was. He's smart. We thought he would be a good addition to our team. Excuse me. And he is going to be. He really provides a skill set to this tight end room that's not really replicated by anyone on the depth chart. Bellinger is more of your possession tight end that has some blocking capabilities. Chris Manhertz and Jack Stoll, the tight ends you signed from the Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles, are more of your inline blocking tight ends. Tyree Jackson is a project, a guy that came into the NFL as a quarterback, transitioning to tight end. Lawrence Cager's probably the closest player to Theo Johnson, but I think Theo is just much more athletically gifted and someone that's going to have a much higher ceiling in this league. But you're going to have a two-headed threat at tight end this year. I expect to see a lot of two tight end personnel groupings with Johnson and Bellinger on the field. And I expect both of them to be productive players this year. But who do you think is going to end the season with more catches? Is it the Rook? Is it the third-year player? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Probably the biggest winner, though, coming out of minicamp is the guy that showed up to a job interview and he left with an offer and he accepted it. Veteran cornerback Tre Herndon. He tried out for the Giants with 3 other players at minicamp, and he's leaving as a part of this football team, putting pen to paper to be an NFL player once again. He has been signed by the Giants. We broke that all down yesterday, and we also told you he was trying out on Tuesday. That's why you subscribe, so you never miss a thing. And this was a major get for the Giants. Not saying Herndon is a big-time ball player. He's had some success in this league. He's been in the NFL since 2018. He's had some good seasons. Graded out over a 70 overall in coverage last year by Pro Football Focus. And the Giants needed to add somebody else to this cornerback room that has proven it in the National Football League that he can be a reliable piece. I don't have too much faith in Cordell Flott. Nick McLeod is more of a depth piece for me. I'm not ready to say Trey Hawkins is going to be someone that can contribute. David Long Jr. is a wild card. Andrew Phillips is a rookie. Aaron Robinson hasn't played in 2 years. And Darnay Holmes is a slot corner that's trying to make the transition to an outside corner, and he's back on a veteran 1-year minimum deal. So I'm looking at Herndon as a guy that could step in and be that opposite corner of Deonte Banks. And Banks and Herndon are your 1-2 punch at that starting corner spot. I'm excited they did it. I just wish they would have went out and signed Stephon Gilmore, as he was the best player at that position, which is still, in my opinion, a big need for this football team. We'll talk losers coming up, and again, nobody is a loser. These are all NFL players, but there were a couple of guys that I thought just didn't have that great of spring sessions overall. That's around the corner. Right now, though, you need to go to chatsports.com/neighbors. That is chatsports.com/neighbors, and get yourself a brand new Malik Nabers New York Giants jersey. Has not chosen his number yet. It will not be number 1 as it is retired. He's wearing number 9 through the spring, but Graham Gano says he doesn't even want that number. So once the rookie chooses a number, We'll put it on the jersey, and we'll send it out to you. Go to chatsports.com/neighbors. I'll make sure that link is clickable down in the comments and description of today's video. With the Giants signing Tre Herndon, a veteran corner, to compete with that CB2 spot, I think that speaks volumes of what this team and what this general manager thinks of the cornerback position. So that means Cordell Flott is a loser for me, really through OTAs and minicamp. I don't just want to rip the guy apart, but he has not looked great this spring after he got a ringing endorsement from Brian Daboll as the guy that's going to be first up, as well as other coaches from the New York Giants. But if you're going to go out and sign a veteran corner after minicamp, that tells me that you are not confident in Cordell Flott being that guy, even though you are telling the media that. And I'm not that confident in him either because he just hasn't put it all together through 2 seasons. I was begging that Cordell Flott be the starting slot corner last year for the Giants, and he just wasn't that good. He did have that key pass breakup on KJ Osborne in that Giants playoff win against the Minnesota Vikings. But outside of that, I would say Flott has not lived up to the hype of being a third-round pick at LSU. He's entering year 3, and that's probably the time that you got to find out if he is that player. But I'm just not so sure that he's a starting cornerback in this league, let alone a boundary corner in this league. I read an article that he doesn't even weigh 185 pounds. He's a little bit slight. I understand he's got a long wingspan, but at the end of the day, you are who you are, and through 2 seasons, he's been nothing more but a rotational piece, and I think he may have just lost his starting job in this offseason with Tre Herndon signing that deal to be a New York Giant. Let's talk about Evan Neal a little bit, who is once again a loser for me coming out of minicamp. And you know what? I'm just about done with Evan Neal. And he did not participate in team drills at OTAs, and he did not participate in team drills at minicamp. And it sounds like he may have suffered a setback with that ankle that he had surgery on back in January. Dan Duggan of The Athletic does an awesome job covering this football team. Says that Daboll said right tackle Evan Neal won't participate in minicamp. He didn't. Daboll also said they've backed off Neal, whatever the hell that means, who underwent ankle surgery in early January. We haven't seen Neal take any team reps this spring. Unclear if Neal suffered a setback to prompt the backing off of from doing the position drills we saw him do earlier this spring. And that's just disappointing, man. The entire career of Evan Neal has been disappointing. This is a player that all 32 teams had inside the top 10 of their big board when he was coming out of Alabama. People called him the number 1 ready-to-play rookie prospect. The Dallas Cowboys had him as the number 1 player on their draft board. And through 2 seasons, there have been plenty of downs and not so much ups in his career. And with the injuries starting to stack up, and he got surgery in January, and it's June 13th, and you haven't worked out with the team, you have a new offensive line coach, you don't build any chemistry with your new right guard, John Runyon, I think it's just time for the Giants to start prepping and preparing for life without Evan Neal. I don't need to touch the stove to know it's hot. I see it smoking. I know it's hot. I know that Evan Neal, so far through his career, has proven one thing, that he is unreliable as a football player. And I think it's just time to move on. Maybe he comes out and proves me all wrong this year and he plays at an average level. And if he does, I will say thank you and I will be very appreciative of it. Because the best way for this Giants offensive line to be decent is for Evan Neal to be good. I just don't see it happening. I think it's just already the time for the Giants to move Jermaine Illuminor to right tackle and then try out Azudu, Stinney, or Schlottman at that left guard spot. Because I just don't believe in Evan Neal. And you know what? I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Just so disappointing, man. 7th overall pick at Alabama, and he hasn't even been in the NFL for 3 years, and we still have major question marks around him. Just upsetting. It really, really is. What's your one-word reaction to describe Evan Neal's career so far? Be colorful, be nice, and be creative in the comment section for me. The last person I want to talk about are the injured players from minicamp. They are losers. Look, just because you're hurt doesn't mean you're a loser, but I do think missing out on valuable practice time with multiple new coaches on this staff and having other players take your reps kind of makes you someone that didn't have the best minicamp session. And the Giants, they already had some injuries stack up through this 2-day practice window. Duggan says 3 wide receivers left today's practice with injuries. Darius Slayton, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, and Chase Cota. Ford-Wheaton and Cota appeared to have arm and shoulder injuries. We now know that Cota has broken his collarbone. That's not good. He said it's hard to tell what happened to Slayton, who was slow to get up after apparently slipping on a route. Other injuries / attendance notes. Aaron Robinson still battling with the knee. Not sure why Trey Hawkins is hurt. They weren't spotted at practice. Gunnar Olszewski continues to nurse that foot and ankle. Jack Stoll, ? And offensive lineman Evan Neal came out to the field during practice and watched. Isaiah McKenzie, Timmy Horn, Benton Whitley, Micah McFadden, Isaiah Simmons, Stanley Thomas Oliver, Javarius Owens were all on the side with trainers. Not ideal, though, that 3 wide receivers go down on the first day of minicamp. Giants kind of cut day 2 short. I wonder if that was because of the repercussion due to the injuries. But for guys like Cota and Bryce Ford-Wheaton that are battling for roster spots, you don't just want to lose opportunities. And injuries are a part of the game. But sometimes the best ability is availability. And Bryce Ford-Wheaton has not been available. Already torn his ACL once, got hurt again at minicamp. Just not ideal. It's not. And that's unfortunate because it always seems like this team is snake-bitten by injuries. To kind of turn it to more of a positive note to close today's show, with minicamp in the books, that means training camp's right around the corner. And that also means that the NFL season is almost here, and I'm ready to spend my Sundays watching Big Blue and hanging out with all of you. So if you're ready for the season, hit that thumbs up icon for me, and make sure to hit me up on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there, and let's go Big Blue.